Welcome back, everybody. It's time for the final match here in Group D. This is NightMare versus ByuN. It's a rematch. NightMare did 2-0 ByuN. It's been kind of a crazy day today. Basically, like every game has been an upset.
Yeah, I would say so. It does feel that way.
Yeah, not that I guess DRG beating NightMare is necessarily an upset, but you guys get what I'm saying. I mean, you know.
It feels like one with the way NightMare's been playing online, man.
True,
He's
true.
looking really good.
Yeah, actually, I stand corrected. You're right. So, you know, let's see what happens. I will say NightMare seems to have a really good handle on this matchup and really knows how to kind of lock ByuN out of any opportunities. He just sort of plays a kind of a slow, almost boring style of just kind of massing up the Stalkers and the Zealots, getting Colossi and Storm eventually.
It's very old school how quickly he goes into Storm.
Yeah, and then he just, you know, kind of boxes him out of 3 or 4 bases, just, you know, pokes in, never overextends, keeps growing on the map, eventually filling in those exterior bases with cannons, and wins the game from there. We're ready, guys. This game is loaded up. Let's go to Site Delta.
Let's get ready to rumble, rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. You looking for trouble? Let's get ready to rumble, rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. Tell them it's going down now. Let's.
All right. NightMare spawning in the top left, ByuN in the bottom right. And last time these two faced off, NightMare did the same build, both games, more or less. One game was a 2-gate, one game was a 3-gate, but Blink Stalkers with a Robo.
He got to the same place. You know, he started out in different ways, but he ends up in the same spot. I don't try to be too predictive as a caster, like, oh, but I think I can in this game. I think we're going to see the same stuff from NightMare.
I think so, too. I think that this is the kind of thing that you do until ByuN shows you that he can stop it.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you experiment, because Game 1 and Game 2 looked very similar between NightMare and ByuN, but Game 2 looked even better for NightMare the second time around when their builds lined up. And NightMare kind of playing an interesting take on Protoss, a little bit more gas heavy than people generally like to do these days, with a later third base and very fast Storm and a Prism. You were saying it's almost Brood War-esque. It's reminiscent of things that you're seeing in the ASL recently.
Yeah, well, we've seen this big uptick in like 4 Templars and a shuttle for Storm, and it's kind of treated almost as like endgame tech, like Arbiters or Carriers. You just get a couple of Templars and just kind of over time whittle down the HP in you know, TVP and Brood War, it's all mech, but it's, you know, if you can just get, you know, over the course of the game, like 8 or 12 good size storms off, usually you can kind of break them. And as we saw it pick up in ASL for StarCraft 1, we saw it pick up in GSL for StarCraft 2.
It is funny how those two leagues kind of mirror each other at times, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of players watch both, you know, and you know, I have had moments where, like, I see somebody do something in another RTS, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could do that in StarCraft, or, you know what I'm saying?
I have the same experience.
Yeah.
Playing a lot of different RTS, sometimes you take inspiration in places you don't necessarily think you'll find it.
Yeah, you'll see an idea that's applicable somewhere, and obviously with StarCraft 1 and 2, they're the most like each other, right? Yeah. And so we've seen that, you know, get used more and more. This is going to be a very quick third CC.
I think this is the same build.
Let's see if it gets the 2 eBays. I think it's quicker than before.
It's different. It's a little bit different. Because this time he pulled off of gas. So he tried to have as high mineral income as you can reasonably have off of one base with a fast command center like this. And as a result, not going to be reactor Cyclones. Instead, going to be a faster third command center and a very fast second barracks to follow up. I mean, very fast after a 3CC opening. About as fast as you can get it. And so it's kind of going to be an interesting 3 racks play here from ByuN, and I wonder how this is going to line up against the build that NightMare is doing. I'm just kind of assuming that NightMare is going to do the same thing here in Game 1 of this series, since it worked in both games of his opening series against ByuN, but ByuN has had time to think about how he's going to try and solve the puzzle that is NightMare's PBT build, because he really did look confused about what to do when we had the camera shots of him after the match where they opened up tonight. And now he's coming in with a little bit of a fresh take. I like the 3 racks opening here with a faster third command center. And I'm wondering if this is going to build to a timing attack that might hit in a moment where NightMare is fragile, when he's trying to get those Templar out with Storm and get that third base established, because it's a little bit of a slow build here for NightMare. He goes into 2 or 3 gateways, gets the robotics facility, obviously gets the blink with the Twilight Council very early, and then double gas at the natural expansion, and then a much later third with the Templar Archives.
Oh, is that actually stuck there?
Is it stuck?
Can it move out of the bottom? I think he just forgot to.
I think he's
check
just
for an idle
chilling.
SCV. The little SCV doing yoga stretches there.
Some break.
I was thinking about this while you were talking, State. Like, I feel like the observer's showing us, like, there's no way this can be trapped back here.
I feel like the casters are also like, yeah, gotta move on, man.
Kind of weird to see ByuN have an idle SCV.
Yeah, but you were saying you were thinking about something, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say I wouldn't mind seeing ByuN not play so macro-like.
Charge,
like I would like to see him actually just do like a 2-base timing attack or something. I feel like that's gonna suit him better. Okay, it wasn't. So he just had an idle worker there. Because sometimes you can get something stuck and give it like a command to move and.
Quiet quitting.
Yeah, quiet quitting.
Or that the dumb phrase during COVID.
Dude, that was the stupidest phrase.
Oh,
people
God.
are quiet quitting. Here's why you should quiet quit. And then it turned into real firing, which is like what happens when you're a bad employee.
Oh, excuse me. I don't know why. For some reason, I thought this was charge first because we haven't seen Blink Stalkers do anything this map.
No, I think,
It's just been sitting in the back of his home. I even commented it was Blink earlier. Sorry, I'm a little bit off my game today after having casted StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2
yeah.
yesterday.
By the way, guys, when you finish watching this, go check out the StarCraft Evolved show match, which is a mod with StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on the Afrika TV YouTube channel. I think they're calling it Super Match, but it was literally yesterday. Go watch it if you missed it. It was so much fun having ASL players play against StarCraft 2 players. Well, I guess ASL versus ASL and StarCraft 2 versus StarCraft 2 more or less, but Brood War races against StarCraft 2 races was really cool to watch. Absolutely go check that out. And ByuN absolutely going to be hitting that timing. And this is what we were talking about, Tasteless. We're a little bit afraid about this because this bio ball is going to be moving across the map with the first 2 medevacs at the timing where NightMare is just now establishing the third base. He's just now starting to mine from it. The first Templar are still warping in. And Storm is only going to finish when this bio ball moves across the map. And there isn't going to be that much Gateway Army to really support them. So this is a scary moment here for NightMare. He has to execute this defense very well. You cannot really afford to miss Storms against the huge, massive bio that ByuN has here. And you definitely can't lose Stalkers like this. I mean, he's also sending these Zealots across the map. I kind of like and hate this. It's good because, I mean, counterattacks like this are always a great way to force some units back, and yet ByuN is pulling so much back to deal with this, in fact. But had ByuN pushed forward with everything, it could have been a very scary moment there for NightMare, considering the wall in here, the natural expansion, but instead, both players is going to try and recall their forces. Well, I guess ByuN is going to walk. Terran version of recall. Stim and run.
The Terran recall is just moving there.
But so far, ByuN's playing a really good game. NightMare has lost so many more units compared to ByuN.
ByuN's going to swoop back in here again. I don't know what's here to defend right now.
Ooh, that Forge could potentially go down if the battery falls first.
That's a juicy target, and there's certainly not enough Stalkers warping in there to defend that. Meanwhile, a push coming down here. The Medevac's lagging slightly behind. The Zealots are going to be picked off. Oh, and he gets it denied. +1 attack is denied. That's actually really big.
I thought for sure that was going to finish, but instead, the deny coming through. I mean, this drop was worth its weight already. That was the only Forge NightMare had upgrading, so big loss here for Protoss, and ByuN is just macroing up a Storm right now. 150 supply to the 115 of NightMare, and unless NightMare has like the most clutch Storms on these 4 Templar, he might just die to this pressure. There's no Colossus transition coming. It's 11 Zealots, 11 Stalkers against all of this army here, plus some Storm. Let me tell you, Tasteless, Zealots and Stalkers without much AoE support, they do not do well against an army like this one. The Storms have to be huge here for NightMare. There's some high energy Templar. First couple of Storms, not that bad. A lot of damage being done to this bio. In fact, with these Storms, there's more left over. But is there enough sustain? Most of the Zealots are gone. 7 more warping in now are going to reinforce. Seems like ByuN is almost content to try and lick his wounds, but NightMare does not want to give him that opportunity. Look at these follow-up Storms, so good from NightMare.
I mean, NightMare's kind of getting to where he needs to be now. You know, he's survived the onslaught from ByuN. He's got enough of the map. He's got the Templar tech up now. Like, unless that Templar Archives is destroyed, Templars are going to be in this game forever. And now he's going to get that final piece of the tech, which is the robotic support bay to make the Colossi. And usually, once that's done, ByuN can't win the game. So ByuN needs to get something done pretty soon here.
But yeah, I feel like ByuN is going to get that one thing done. He's already coming into the natural expansion. Oh, he's picking off the Templar. The third, no reaction there from NightMare. Oh, the Widow Mines, they get the prism full of Templar. There's only, what, 1 Storm left on the map right now for NightMare?
Oh, this is insane. You know,
the game just turned on its head.
I was just saying, like, as long as, you know, he gets that tech up, it's, you know, there's not much ByuN can do, so ByuN's going to have to do something before that. He did it. And without any Templars now in this mix, it's going to be very tough for just like Stalker Zealot to actually deal with this.
And it might look like NightMare is stabilizing right now, but what we don't see on screen is the huge mass of ByuN's army getting ready to move across the map. 77 army supply. Ghosts are now entering the mix. The Storms are few and far between here for NightMare. He has 3 in total with 4 Ghosts on the map. Best case scenario here for NightMare, he gets 3 money Storms off. I don't even know if that's going to be enough. That's the first Storm. He has 2 left. And these Ghosts, they're going to have EMP. I don't know if NightMare's going to be able to hold on. This 4th base is such a juicy target right now for ByuN. There's the EMP. No more AoE damage. 1 Templar with energy in the back. That's all NightMare's got.
Yeah, this actually could be the lethal attack right now. Another Storm comes down, and ByuN just pushes right through it. He's going for the jugular. He's going to move in now. These probes have nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. They are all going to be executed, and then the Nexus is going to fall. I think this game's done.
I think so, too.
I wouldn't even be surprised if he picks up and drops in the main here.
NightMare is trying to survive. He's re-expanding to the 9 o'clock position, and he's hoping and praying that defensively, with his first Colossus, with the second one underway, with some Storms, he'll be able to survive, but ByuN's army is insane right now. Look at the resources lost. NightMare's lost almost 5k more res this game than ByuN. That's how good ByuN's engagements have been. Oh, and the money EMP adding insult to injury. Even with no EMP, I think ByuN runs over this position, but that's going to be it. Try as you might with that Colossus. Even Parting couldn't come back from that one with Colossus Micro as ByuN takes game number 1. And that was the adjustment we needed to see from ByuN, because game 1 and game 2, he was confounded by NightMare's opening. He tried the same build 2 games in a row, did not work. Game number 1 of the second set, similar ideas, but a different build-up. No Cyclones, faster 3rd command center, 3 racks follow-up, hit the timing with a ton of bio in the first 2 medevacs, just when Storm is coming online. And that timing slowed the rest of the growth there for NightMare. The Colossus are going to be slower behind because you need to warp in more Templar to get more Storms to try and keep on the same footing as Terran, because if you don't have enough Storm, you just die. That's your main damage with that army that NightMare is playing at. It's one of the reasons why we don't see Protoss players go for Storm this quickly very often in PvT. And ByuN, he absorbs the damage from the Storm. He doesn't let his bio die. It gets in the red, and then he just comes back. He recharges, he heals, he comes in again. And NightMare was just never able to grow into an army that could actually stop the forces ByuN mustered. And so NightMare, now that it feels like his build, his macro approach has been solved, I think is very wisely requesting a break here to try and maybe go back into the lab and think about what he should bring out here in this next game, because I don't think he can do the same thing again. I think that if ByuN goes for the same opening against NightMare's same opening, we're going to see the same story from game 1 retold in game number 2.
I think so. I wouldn't mind seeing ByuN even get a little bit more aggressive than even before. Yeah, like if you can just kind of get in there. Like, first of all, that attack at the in the middle of game 1 was pretty wild. I mean, the fact that the War Prison was shot down, that was probably the biggest part. He sniped the Templars. He got over into that natural base, killed off a lot of the workers. Yeah, but he basically got in there before the picture could be completed. ByuN was way too passive in the first best of 3 and basically let NightMare play the game that he wanted to play. And the fact that he was a little bit more smart about how he initiated fights was really good. So I think in Game 2, if ByuN's going to come out on top, something similar or maybe even something more aggro. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing a 2-base timing here. Just hit him when he's trying to take the 3rd base.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
You know? Yeah.
Have to wait and see what the map is going to be. Actually, do we have that loaded up here? Oh, the chat's blocking. Oceanborn.
Is our
Oceanborn
map.
going to be the map. Yeah, I could see a timing come from ByuN on this one. I don't know if he's going to go for it. He seems to be leaning pretty heavily into macro play so far today. I don't know how many fast 3CCs we've seen from ByuN in TVZ and in TVP. It feels like basically every single game, if not every single game, right?
ByuN sometimes is very formulaic in his openings. I mean, I think it's good that he's not just doing like 2-base aggro stuff, but I feel like now is time to go tap into the old ByuN style.
I think it would be good.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially here with NightMare on match point, and NightMare kind of has to do something a little bit different from what he prepared maybe. That's why he's asking for this pause, I think. If this was going according to plan, maybe you don't go for the pause here as NightMare, right?
Well, I think also, you know, the truth is like ByuN had this, NightMare had this crazy upset, is looking amazing. We're like, okay, well, now the only thing he has to worry about is if Solar advances. Solar doesn't. So now all he has to do is repeat what already happened, and he should be fine, right? He should get out. And now it's like, uh-oh, ByuN's adapting. He's changed his play. He's kind of on his redemption arc right now. So unsurprising to see NightMare actually go for the pause here. I assume probably go to the restroom. I don't know.
Collect
himself. Try to figure out, okay, what is going wrong here? I've already done this once. I literally did it just an hour ago. And try to come back and do it all over again here.
Yeah, I hope this is NightMare trying to collect himself more than anything else, because if it's NightMare trying to go back and come up with a way to reapproach the series, that can be a problem against somebody like ByuN.
I think so.
If ByuN comes in with some cheeky timing attack here, or even just goes back to the same build, NightMare's going to have to find an answer for it. Guys, we're getting ready to go to map number 2 on Oceanborn. ByuN 1 map win away from the round of 8. NightMare 1 loss away from elimination.
Okay, so we've got NightMare down here in the bottom left, ByuN in the bottom, sorry, top left, ByuN in the bottom right.
Keep going.
He has the card. Nice. Imagine NightMare wins on the day you have the card at the studio.
The card is...
I know how to analyze this from here on out.
What's it called? Horcrux? What's the
Horcrux?
What's the word? You know, the Harry Potter thing with like Voldemort.
Man.
I'm sorry.
I'm not a Harry Potter. I don't know.
There's like it's like this artifact or this object that like has the life essence of a person or an entity, and if it's broken, if it's destroyed, the person also dies. What if that card is NightMare's
That's called the GSL
life?
for me. That's my Horcrux. Yeah, man. Maybe
that card might be his lucky charm.
Yeah, you got to get him to sign that card after we're done here.
You gotta convince NightMare to make you stay in Korea to come back again if you win. It's like, man, it's the card. If the card's not here, I don't know if he can advance from the round of 8 to the round of 4.
That's right.
It's gonna be shaky, man. But let's see if NightMare comes in with something new here in game number 2 of this series, because so far 3 games played, same build more or less 3 times, and I think that's smart from NightMare. I don't hate him at all for doing the same build 3 times in a row, because until the previous map, ByuN didn't really have an answer for it. But now that the answer is here, I really think we need to see some more range coming in from NightMare in this opening, and I think perhaps ByuN also feels the same way. Look at this. He's going for a different build this time than all the other games. Faster Factory. I don't think this is going to be with a fast 3rd command center, although it looks like he might be pulling off of gas a little bit. We'll have to wait and see exactly how ByuN is going to be macroing this one up. And it's the Twilight Council again for NightMare.
Yeah, Twilight Council coming down. Second gas over here for ByuN. And look, I mean, I got to praise NightMare for a second here. He's had a really impressive set of games so far. It's too bad he wasn't quite able to deliver here with DRG. It is a different matchup, and I think NightMare is not exactly known for like going for super late game carrier play or anything like that. Nice shutdown here.
Yeah, that was some good
Takes
control.
that Reaper out. The Reaper really didn't get much presence on the map at all. Here's that double Cyclone play we were talking about.
And this is really smart from ByuN, I think. This build looks like the previous build that he was doing that NightMare was beating.
Right, right. This one has a second barracks behind it.
Has a second barracks.
And has a tech lab being added on over here too.
Yeah, but from NightMare's perspective, this looks about the same, I think. You're going to be expecting these two Cyclones to come out. He will confirm it. It's not a Widowmine opening.
Yeah.
Everything
and he fakes it out.
telegraphed.
Yeah, he even starts a Widowmine just to make it look like the factory's going to keep making. A little bit of a red herring there for the scouting.
And a
of
siege
NightMare.
tank starts up Tasteless.
Yeah, so
ByuN
it's
is going to be
that
going.
push. He's going with the build I was talking about. I mean, at least the
Coach
idea.
Tasteless.
That's right.
What you guys don't know is that while NightMare was going to the bathroom, Tasteless actually sneakily walked down to the studio,
What you guys don't
studio
know-
floor and told ByuN what he had to do.
I'm a warg, okay?
You're a
I'm a
warg.
warg. I actually, like, my mind goes into their bodies and I do the strats. What is it, Bran
That
in
would
Game
make-
of Thrones? He can, like, warg into different animals. That's me. I warg into pro gamers.
That would make for a
Every
great.
win you've ever seen in StarCraft was me warging into the player's
that
mind.
would make
okay?
that would make for a that would make for a great StarCraft 2 based short story. I'm just imagining you and Dan both warging into the players, and you're controlling the Protoss, and Dan is losing, and that's why
That's
he's
right.
just like, man,
well,
Protoss is so
Artosis
easy
is a
to
warg too.
play.
He can just warg into anything that's rage quitting. Okay, that's his special power.
All right, well, these Cyclones going to try and exert some presence here on the map. First siege tank is done. Second one gets started here for ByuN as he's continuing to build towards this timing push. And this is the first time that NightMare is really getting an inkling of what ByuN is cooking up. He's even going to let the Shade complete. I don't know if that's a mistake or if he's just fishing for scouting information, but NightMare is going to double gas again. So it looks about the same, but I think this time he's not going to go for the third base. He's going to try and meet this on the map because with the Blink Stalkers, you need the kite, and it's even the Templar Archive. So that's going to take a long time to pay off here for NightMare. He might be misreading the situation a little bit, Tasteless.
Oh, he
He notices. He notices.
Does he recall here?
I feel like it's a little bit too late already. I don't really know what you do here as NightMare. With Blink Stalkers, you kind of need to kite the Terran all the way to your natural expansion. That's how you get the value out of Blink. This composition is not that good in a straight-up fight. Instead, ByuN is going to go basically uncontested all the way to the third base. He's starting bunkers already.
Yeah, he's going to set up a little outpost over here, and once he saw those Stalkers down there, he might send the reinforcements. You got to be careful because there's a couple ways Protoss stop this. One of the ways is they just get in between the units that are trying to link up with this initial push.
Oh, man, I don't know if these bunkers are going to get denied. NightMare once again going for the counterattack, but he's not meeting the reinforcements in the middle. He would love to catch those if he could.
Okay, so he's just going to try to drop that into the main. This should send the rest of the reinforcements down there. One gateway's going to fall.
Yeah, War Prism in the main base with 4 Stalkers right now. Going to try and get some damage done. 2 Stalkers waiting outside the natural expansion as well. More gateways in production. I think the Templar Archives did get canceled, as NightMare right now is in basically panic mode, scrambling to try and defend this. You can tell he's kind of spread thin right now. He's building a Templar Archive, or a Dark Shrine instead. He's losing Stalkers in the main base of ByuN too.
It's kind of a crazy hard contain out here at the front.
Yeah, the walls are closing in, but that's a nice pick by NightMare to get that siege tank.
Yeah.
Any win like that is huge.
Oh my god, the Stalker's eating so much damage. This a push is still happening up here, although NightMare's not really microing it. 2 tanks are going to be able to siege up in range of the Robo.
Yeah, at least that second Immortal should be able to finish unless the Marines focus fire it down. It's very low on HP. NightMare, I think you got to save that man. It goes down. No second Immortal here for NightMare.
And the next target's going to be the Nexus. And if the Nexus goes down, it's over. He's going to salvage 3 of these bunkers, leaving 1 up here in the front.
ByuN is losing so much economy back on his side of the map, though. 26 SCVs have gone down just to this small group of Stalkers and a Warp Prism. NightMare is microing that attack so well.
Thing is, I mean, this Nexus, I think it's just going to fall, right? I don't think the...
Yes, overcharge. You gotta overcharge the Nexus? Okay, it's healing, it's healing, it's healing. The recall now coming in. Charge is done. Can NightMare actually break out of this position?
Oh, dude, this is insane.
Oh, the Immortal focus firing down. The Warp Prism micro as well. I think NightMare might just barely be able to stabilize. What an insane hold in his natural expansion. The Nexus on just a sliver of HP.
3 DTs come out here. There is something on... Okay, there's this on the minimap. Now, you know, he can actually pull some... I think actually ByuN could still win this.
There's a chance. He's banking up 3 scans, despite the fact that ByuN lost so many workers. He is not dropping mules. He knows he needs to have the scans available.
Yeah, yeah.
5 DTs on the map. First scan comes down.
He bruises the second. No shields left.
At least 2 more scans in the bank. There's going to be an easy drop in the main base that ByuN has to deal with. There's the second scan. 1 more left. Immortal gets focus fire down. Stim is done now. This is a lot of damage.
Now he's going to get the Nexus 100%. There's no stopping that.
Oh, instead he's going for all the workers right now. The DTs are dropping in the main base of ByuN. That's why you see the SCVs falling on your screen. Still 1 DT alive.
Oh
Engineering bay not done just yet.
I didn't realize the eBay wasn't done. I was about to say he needs to make some turrets over here. He's going to go back.
I think that's enough damage there for ByuN.
He just has to get turrets up and stabilize. A scan?
Oh, turret even getting built here in the front.
Yeah, I would just ditch the main.
NightMare has almost no army left. 16 army supply. The Warp Prism is down. There's no more counterattack threat here for ByuN. ByuN is so close to closing this one out.
Oh my God, the DT's going to come out. You know what? I think ByuN has this. I think he can just deny the Nexus from being made. Oh my God.
It barely goes into the range. Stalker's blinking forward, but ByuN's army is too strong. And NightMare once again is going to go out in the round of 16. He came so close here in the final match, but ByuN, he came out with a tasteless build. The 2 base push.
Jesus worked into his body and made the games happen.
I mean, NightMare is going to try and fight this out as best he can, but he's on a 1 base economy with 8 army supply to a ByuN that has stabilized back at home. There's a missile turret and the natural expansion. There soon will be one of the main. And look at this army tasteless.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a scrappy setup outside the natural, but when the reinforcements come, I mean, that's all you have to do is just deny the other base. I mean, it's fine if ByuN's economy's in shambles. And by the way, ByuN just really adapting.
Yeah, this is a very well-played best of 3.
Oh my God, he's so good.
I mean, just considering the way that the first best of X series between these 2 guys went, where NightMare was able to win 2-0 and ByuN just looked confounded. For ByuN to come in with a different macro build here in game number 1, and then the timing push in game number 2
Great
to
series.
deliver the win.
That was my favorite game of the night, actually.
That was so much fun. And you can see how happy ByuN is, man. He is pumped up by that win. And the fan favorite going to advance. I mean, my heart breaks a little bit here for NightMare because he keeps cutting so close to the round of 8 here at the GSL. But once again, going out in the round of 16, we will have another Terran advancing into the playoffs in pretty spectacular fashion. I mean, ByuN, after a very shaky first series to start off tonight, looked so good against Solar, so good against NightMare. Well-deserved berth to the round of 8.
Man, I feel bad for NightMare too. I mean, it was a real emotional roller coaster. He kind of started the evening off with, you know, really inspirational play, you know, with some deep late game PvT. And then, you know, at the end it was, you know, this is why ByuN's had so much success and is so, you know, known in the StarCraft competitive scene, is he isn't a player that adapts. He's always had his own play style and his own characteristics. But, you know, he kind of looked at the situation and I think recalibrated really well.
Yeah, both the build that he did in this game on Site Delta, it felt like was so good against NightMare's opening. It just had so much play, and then to completely mix things up and for the first time tonight go for this 2-base timing push. And really any of the matchups. ByuN was basically playing 3 CC macro games every single time. And then here on match point, just comes out with a special cheese. This just works into his body and deliver the siege tank push. I love it. We were wondering if he was going to do it.
Yeah.
And Oceanborn, it's a pretty good map if you're actually able to breach into that 3rd base. There's different paths you can go down. NightMare was not able to catch that army in the middle of the map. Let's hear what ByuN has to say. Well, that wasn't an easy series, ByuN. In fact, you battled really hard to make it here to the round of 8. You almost were knocked out, but you're able to fight your way all the way back. How are you feeling? Well, after my first match against NightMare, after I lost 2-0, I felt like it was going to be a really hard day. Yeah, I've been practicing a lot lately, but I feel like it's been hard for me to focus. So mentally, I had a hard time processing the loss and even getting through my practice to come here today, but luckily I was still able to make it to the quarterfinals. While all of us casters could feel your desperation in that final match against NightMare, what was going through your mind in those last moments? Well, you know, I prepared really hard, specifically for TBZ coming into today. I kind of was expecting to meet DRG instead of Solar, but when I played against Solar, I could kind of tell that he isn't really in the best condition. It definitely isn't the Solar in peak form that I've come to expect. So there was a moment during that series that I just kind of realized that if I play my game, I'm going to be able to win. Well, you played 2 different series against NightMare. You lost the first one, and then you were able to come back in series number 2. Well, I felt like it was more about momentum than anything else. Because NightMare lost to Dongre Gu and I was able to beat Solar, I felt momentum was on my side and I was able to ride that to the victory in the final match. Well, ByuN, you made it in 2nd place. In the quarterfinals, there's Maru and Sue. And by the way, guys, get into that in a minute. ByuN is actually the one in the group with Maru and Sue. So you always say, you know, Maru, I'm cheering for you. I want you to win. Maru cheers for you as well. You guys are such good friends. Is there any words you want to say to Maru? Well, no, I'm Maru's older brother. I'm his young. And we have such a long history playing against each other. And even in our most recent matches, the memory is fresh in my mind. Maru, it feels like he cheers for me a lot, but he's always the one that stops my path to a championship. But this time I think I might actually be able to beat him. Well, you know, it kind of feels, ByuN, like when you play against Protoss, it feels like kind of the ByuN of old with the builds that you're bringing out. In fact, the Korean casters are talking a lot about 2016 ByuN, one of his best years. Ben says, well, you know, I don't really think about that old moment so much. I just focus on trying to do my best. And there were some great moments when I was able to snipe those key units in that match there against NightMare, but really, I just had some very good feelings in that last match. Well, you know, here in the studio today, there's a lot of fans supporting you, cheering you on, happy that you made it all the way into the round of 8. What do you have to say for them? And it says, well, you know, next week I have to actually leave Korea to go to a boot camp with my team, Shopify. And, you know, because there's these overseas schedules, we're actually playing Group D ahead of Group C, so I'm grateful that GSL's been able to accommodate us players for that reason. Compared to pretty much everybody else in Korea, I'm actually going to be leaving Korea earlier to go to the United States to prepare for the tournament, and I'm doing that for my fans so that I can prepare and show the best possible games that I can. And
very cool.
I think that's very cool of him.
Yeah, you know, the CEO of Shopify, big StarCraft fan. Very cool to see you know, them supporting ByuN, and it was a fantastic team. So this is our results today, guys. I got to say, really fun games. I wish we had a couple more 2-1s here, but sometimes it's just straight up 2-0s. ByuN, I mean, you know, I think my takeaway is just this is a guy that adapts. He kind of looks at the situation, analyzes what's going wrong. This is how you get better at StarCraft. You can't just be doing one thing or one build or one strat, right? It seemed like NightMare came in here with like very solid late game PvT, and if the game goes on long enough, you'll never beat him. So don't let the game go on long. That's what ByuN did. He came in here and crushed it. Let's also not forget DRG. Whoa, this guy looks really good. I'm not sure, you know, how exactly he's going to fare as we get deeper in this group, but he's a real threat. He's looking very scary.
Yeah, by the way, during the interview with DRG, actually, the casters were confused about whether this was Group C or Group D for a moment because we did change the schedule around.
I was literally about to be like, wait a minute, he's not, because they were saying he was in a group with Maro, and I'm like, that.
DRG is the one in the group with Hero and Creator, not with Maro and Sue, as we said in the interview. So sorry for the misinformation, the fake news.
The fake news.
ByuN is in the group with Maro and Sue, and next match next week, it's going to be Group C. Cure, Rogue, Stats, and Dark. This is an insane group. Rogue is back. Stats is seemingly back into the form of old. He looked so strong as a Shield of Ire previously in GSL. And this is the group that I have been, I mean, along with Rainer's group, the most excited to watch by far. I cannot wait to see how Rogue does, fresh from the military service, even almost rocking the military haircut here in the photos.
Yeah, looking like he's fresh out of the military, right? He's still got the short hair. This is a crazy group. I don't know who on earth is going to get out. I'm also very interested in seeing how Rogue is going to perform, because let's admit it, Rogue is at times the best player in Korea.
I would love for him to just come back.
Multiple-time world champion.
With a resounding victory. I don't know how much he was actually training over the course of his military, because you can still play if you have the time. You just can't compete for money.
You're allowed to have a computer and the internet. You know, you could still do that, but you're not allowed to be. You can't make money off of anything other than your military service.
That has to be your job. That has to be your focus.
A side
as a
hustle
career.
is illegal, so you can't do that.
So, Rogue, we don't know exactly how much he's been practicing. I don't know if he said so in interviews just yet, but he's already qualified for the GSL, so whatever the amount is, it certainly has been enough to be top 16 in Korea, which is one of the reasons why, you know, Classic, for instance, isn't in this GSL, is because players like Rogue coming back, pretty incredible to see. I am so hyped to cast
I think
Rogue.
we're almost through everybody having done their military service. Is that correct?
Yeah, it feels like that. Trap also recently out of military service, didn't qualify for this GSL, but tried, got really close.
By the way, guys, if you want to join us for that match next week, the information to get the tickets is right there. We're not selling out. Usually early on in GSL, there's still room to get in, but you do have to get a ticket, so do that.
Yeah, get the ticket, get it early, play it safe. Saves you the hassle of coming here and trying to fumble with your phone, and maybe if you're traveling here, you have like one of those SIM cards from the airport, and it's not the best connection.
I'm glad we put this up every time there's a GSL, because eventually it gets to the finals. That does sell out.
Yes.
Okay, whether people are flying in from other countries, traveling in from different parts of Korea, or people that are just here in Seoul, Korean or foreigner, so do be sure to get a ticket. Do get it.
Fun day.
I enjoyed today.
Big
I was
upset.
worried it might be like lackluster games. It's honestly, it's a weaker group than the other groups that we had, but I like what went down. Unsurprisingly, DRG and ByuN duke it out. Solar is eliminated. Again, shocking. I mean, he's a guy we always expect to be top 8, top 4. Yeah, okay, that's all the time we have, guys. Thank you for joining us. We love you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Incoming transmission.